creative designers, welcome again to my channel. In case you are new here, my name is Gift. In today's video, I'll be showing us how to make this short bubu Ankara dress with welt pockets and plackets. If this is something that interests you, do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and let's go straight into today's video. Welcome back. So to make this, we'll be needing a plain fabric. Here I'm making use of a bridal satin, and of course the main fabric you want to use for this project. For me, I'll be making use of about 2 yards of Ankara fabric for mine. If you have the plus size, you can use 3 yards. So, and these are the basic measurements we will be needing. Okay, so now to start with, we are going to be folding our fabrics. Okay, we're going to be folding the main fabric. Here I folded into four. I folded into two first, and then I refolded that into four, and that is the selvage line, which is going to serve as my starting point. Okay, so the first measurement I want to impute here from the selvage line, which is the starting point, is my chest line. Now this depends on how wide you want the sleeve to be. Remember, it's a cut together sleeve. If you want yours to be bigger, you could make use of your bust points. Okay, if you want your sleeve to be bigger, the sleeve circumference to be bigger, you could make yours from shoulder to bust point. So I'm just indicating the bust point like so, just to show you in case you want to make the sleeve bigger. But for me, I want mine to just be moderate. I want it to be on my chest line. So if you want yours to be bigger, go ahead and impute your bust line measurement, the bust point measurement. Next, I'm going to be imputing my waist measurement, that is the front length measurement. So mine is 16.5 inches, and then I'm going to be connecting those points together to form a straight line, just so we can see all the markings here. Okay, so the next measurement I'm going to be imputing is my shoulder to my hip line. Okay, so from my waist to hip line is 8 inches. So here I have the chest line, the bust point, the bust line, I have the waistline, and I have the hip line. Okay, so now I'm going to be connecting those dots together. So from my shoulder to my hip line is 25.5 inches. I'm just going to rule that like so. The next measurement you want to impute is, of course, your gown length measurement. Okay, the gown length, remember, is a short gown. So mine is 36 inches. If yours is 38, just impute that. I'm also going to be adding my extra allowance to the hem, that is the hemming allowance, which is about 2 inches for folding. Okay, now that we've gotten all our horizontal line, remember this is the selvage line, and that is where I'm going to be starting my measurement from. So the next thing I want to impute is, of course, my neck width and neck depth for the back. Now for the back, so I'm using 3 inches by 1 inch for the neck width and the neck depth. This is for the back. We are going to be cutting both the back and front together, but first we'll be imputing the back measurement. Okay, after I have gotten that, the next thing I want to impute is my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2, which is 7.5 inches. Now remember, I told us if you want your sleeve circumference to be big, you could impute that on your bust line. Okay, so now I'm going to be imputing my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 28 inches divided by 4, that is 7. I'm going to be adding 1 inch to that for ease. Remember, this outfit is not tight at all, so 7 inches plus 1 inch will give me 8 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, the next one I'm going to be adding imputing is my hip measurement, which is 36 divided by 4, that is 9. But remember, this dress has some kind of hippie illusion. It has this hip illusion, protruded hip. So I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches to the original hip measurement I have before. Okay, so 9 plus 1.5, of course, will give me 10.5, and then I will add my stitching allowance. Now, remember, I told us that it is a cut together sleeve. Okay, so you want to determine the length of your sleeve. Remember, you first impute your shoulder divided by 2, and then you impute the length of your sleeve. Now, I want my sleeve to stop on my chest line. So on my chest line, I'm going to be imputing my bust divided by 4, which is 9 inches, plus 1 inch for ease. Okay, that is 10 inches. Then plus another 1 inch for seam allowance. That, of course, will give us 11 inches. I hope we get. So the seam allowance for this project is 1 inch all through. Okay, so now on my hemline, I'm going to be imputing what I have on my hip line directly on my hemline. I'll take it all the way down to the seam allowance, and then I'll connect those points together to form a straight line. Okay, can you see what I did here? I'll connect it to form a straight line. The next thing I'm going to be doing, of course, is to connect my hip line to my waistline using my curve. Okay, and also I'll be connecting my bust line rather to my waistline first. Okay, I'll connect my bust line to meet up with my waistline just like so, and next I will go ahead and connect my waistline using the hip curve now to connect that to my hip line. Okay, just to give me that hip illusion. Remember, I said this outfit has some hippie illusion. Okay, so on the waistline, I'm going to be eliminating that sharp point by just going in with my curve and blend in those sharp points like so. Please avoid sharp points. Okay, avoid sharp points. Now this is what we have. So now to the sleeve area, what we are going to be doing is to determine how wide we want the sleeve circumference to be. For me, I don't want mine to be too wide, so I'm just going to be making use of 16 inches. That is with the sewing allowance inclusive now. So I'm just going to impute 16 inches divided by 2 from where the sleeve length got to, and that is 8 inches, okay? And that is 8 inches from where my sleeve length got to, that is 8 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to connect those points together. Can you see? I'm going to connect those points together, and then I'm going to be blending that in. Remember, this is a cut together sleeve. Just to avoid sharp points, I'll go out from that point by 1 inch. Now from the connection between your chest line and where you want your sleeve to get to, you're going to be coming out by 1 inch, and then you blend them together just like I'm doing in the video. Can you see? It is a cut together sleeve, and that is just basically all for this. The neck width is 3 inches by 1 for the back. Okay, just for the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, as this is basically all we need for this part of the project. So I'll cut the neck width out for the back. I'll also go ahead and cut out the sleeve length now. So just to give me that curvy effect around there. Remember, it doesn't have to be so sharp. Now we are done cutting, and this is what I was talking about. So if you want the hip to be more protruded, you could go ahead and add more allowances to that. It could be 2 inches or 3 inches, whatever just suits you, please do. Now I'm going to be removing my pins and then take out the back part, as we want to work on the front part. Okay, so this is the front. Now remember, there is a placket on this dress. So I just want to go down from my neck width by about 9 inches. Okay, you could make yours 10 or 8. And then the width of the placket is 2 inches, but because this fabric is on fold, I'm going to be imputing 1 inch from the center front, and then I'm going to be connecting that 1 inch to meet up with my neck width. Okay, now I'm pinning this down just to put my fabric in place, and then I'm going to be connecting those points together to give me a V shape just like so. So you go in first by 1 inch, and then you connect that to meet up with your neck width with a straight line. Can you see? If you want yours to have this curvy effect around the neckline, you could just go out and connect with a curve. Whatever suits you is totally fine. You just have to be creative. But for me, I'm going to be leaving mine as a straight line just like it is here. Okay, so now that I've gotten that, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out. Okay, but before I cut out, I want to add about half of an inch. Okay, I want to go up by half of an inch from that 9 inches, because I want the placket to stop exactly on 9.5 inches. Rather, I'm going down by half of an inch, so I could either go down by half of an inch, or come up by half of an inch. Whichever one I want is fine. You want is fine. So for me, I want the placket to stop exactly on 9 inches. So I'll be going up by half of an inch. And from that half inch, I will reconnect back to meet up with the straight line. So the half inch below is going to serve as my seam allowance. I hope you understand that, my joining allowance. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. And this is what we have at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to open this up just to show you the shape of the placket. This is what the neckline is going to be looking like by the time you cut yours out. So now it's time to work on our welt pocket. Okay, for the welt pocket, I'm going to be using my bridal satin. I've already gone ahead to post a video on how to derive this or to achieve this. So please make sure you watch the video. I'll be leaving the link on the description box. At this point, I was done joining, and the next thing I want to do is to go ahead and join both the front and the back piece together. I'll join them together and head straight to the sewing machine and join together by half of an inch. I will repeat the same thing for the other sleeve on the shoulder line now by half of an inch. Now we want to put these two in place so that we can attach our plackets, okay, the band, okay, to form the plackets. Okay, so now you're going to be cutting out the plain fabric you want to use for your placket, and to do that you measure to get the width of your placket. Mine is 2 inches. Remember, we went in by 1 inch on fold. Okay, so the width of my placket is going to be 2 inches. Now the length of the placket will be whatever you have round your neckline. So I'm just going to measure what I have around my neckline, just like so. I'll go ahead and measure that round. So at the end of the day, I got about 27 inches, 26.75 actually, but I approximated that to about 27 inches. Okay, so instead of cutting 27 inches, remember this design has some kind of elongated design below, so I'm just going to be making it about 30 or 35 inches depending. Now for the sleeve, you also measure what you have on your sleeve line, and then you're going to cut out your band. Okay, so for the band, which is also going to double as a placket here, is 2.5 inches on fold. That is, everything I have here is about 5 inches. Okay, 2.5 inches on fold. I will use half inch to join them together on both sides, and then at the end of the day I'll be left with about 2 inches. The same thing applies to the sleeve band. Okay, I have about 2.5 inches on fold. So now it's time to join. Now remember, we have about half inch below, which I told us is going to serve as our sewing or joining allowance. So I'm just going to be connecting that like so. Can you see? I will also go ahead and rule out a notch, or to mark a notch around that point. Now these notches I have here is going to serve, is going to help us to attach our band without any hassle or problem. Next thing I'm going to do is to go out like so and measure half inch round. The reason why I do this is so that I would know exactly where to stop when I'm joining my band or plaqué. Okay, so now that I'm done with this, I'm going to give that a very tiny notch. I'll give those points tiny notches just so that point will open up for me and make it easier for me to attach my band. Okay, so now just look at what I'm doing here. You open up that point you notched. Okay, you open it up just like so, and this is the reason why you have to press down half of an inch. I forgot to tell us that you have to press down your half of an inch so that it will make this easier for you when you are joining. Okay, you open it up and then you tuck in the half inch you ruled on your main fabric, and then you go ahead and stitch them down like so. Now remember, all these markings was done on the front part, the right side of the fabric. Another thing is you could decide to add interfacing to your band if that is what you want, but for me, my fabric is thick, so I just decided not to. So at this point I was done joining, and this is what I have. Can you see how neatly finished the neckline is? So for the other part where we notched, you're just going to be folding that in. Okay, you will fold it in and press on it, and by the time you fold it in and tuck it to the other side, this is exactly what you're going to have. Can you see? This is the tucked in part. the shorter part now. Yes, you're going to tuck in the shorter part in. You tuck it in, and then you bring out the notch you have, the half of an inch notch you have. You bring it out just like so, and then you join them together by half of an inch. Because you have pressed this down, you're going to have a crease line there, and that is going to serve as a guide by the time you are joining. Pin them down and then join them together by half of an inch. When you're done, you can cut out the excess or you just trim it off. It's fine. So at this point, I was done doing that, and I thought to show us what the right side looks like. When you are done joining, the next thing you're going to do is to bring the longer part of the band, which is a placket now, bring it and place it directly on the first part. Please make sure it overlaps. This is very important. Make sure it overlaps, and then you determine where you want the other design to get to. For me, I want it to stop directly on where I have the welt pocket, that is the starting point, which is my waistline. So I'm just going to cut out the excess, and then the next thing I'll do is to show us how to finish up the edge. Okay, now remember, this was folded. We folded this in by half of an inch. Okay, can you see? So you could just bring out one of those folds and place it on top of the other. Can you see? You place it on top of the other and then run a stitch all the way down. And this is what I'm trying to say. Just bring out one of the folds, the half-inch fold you have before. Bring it out like so. Place it on top of the other one. When you get to this point, you could give it a notch just so it can relax for you. And when you are done folding it on it, then go ahead and stitch it down, just tiny stitch. Okay, stitch them down very close to the edge just to give you a very nice finishing. And when you get to the tip, you could give it any design of your choice, just like I'm doing now. You fold this in just like so, and then can you see, you fold it in, press on it. This is very important. You want to press on it so it can keep everything in place. Can you see? You want to press on it so that everything will be in place, and then you go straight to your sewing machine and then join that point with very neat stitch. At this point, I was done joining, and this is what we have. Can you see how beautiful and well finished this looks like? At this point, you could also add your hemming gum just to put those parts in place. Okay, whatever you want to do, just make sure you have a neat finishing at the end of the day. Now for the sleeve, I want to attach the band. Remember, this is 2.5 inches on fold, so I'm going to place the band on the wrong side now, on the wrong side of my fabric, because I want to turn this in to finish up the raw edges of my fabric. So I'll stitch it down by half of an inch, and then when I'm done stitching by half of an inch, I'll flip it over to the right side and then run a very tiny stitch on the hem. Just watch what I did. Can you see? So I turned it in. Can you see the stitch? Just to keep it in place. And this is what the rough edges looks like. It's well tucked in and it's looking all beautiful. At this point, we are almost done with this project, and the next thing you're going to do is to pick up the fabric and then head straight to the sewing machine and join them together by the seam allowance you added earlier. For me, it's about 1 inch. So I'll just go to the sewing machine and join them together by 1 inch. So creative designers, in case you've not liked this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe in case you have not subscribed, and hit your notification bell so you can always get notified when we post a new video. I will head straight and then finish up the hemline, and then I'll show you what this looks like. Can you see? So this is what the end product is. This a product? This is what the end result looks like, and is looking all beautiful and well finished. Thank you, till I see you again. Bye.